Hi everyone, how are you? Hope you're all okay. Have you had a good week? Mine's been all right. I'm a bit tired today. Just didn't sleep very well last night, so that's a bit rubbish. But yeah, I'm all right. I'm all right. The sun is shining this afternoon, so that's nice, isn't it? And hopefully be able to go out in it at some point. Hopefully you're being able to do that as well. Maybe go to the park or out in your garden and having some fun. That'd be cool. Today we're going to carry on looking in the book of Acts, and we're going to talk about a man called Stephen, and we're going to hear about what happened to him. And before we do, we're going to play a game of true or false. Now some of you, this will be a bit tricky, but hopefully you'll be able to have a go at it and see what the right answers are. Okay, so the first question is, Jesus is the Son of God. True or false? Next one. Jesus said that everyone loved him, so anyone who follows him will also be loved by everyone. Is that true or false? So Jesus said everyone loved him, and that means that everyone who follows him will also be loved by everyone. Is that true or false? Did Jesus say that? Have a think, have a chat with your parents or your carers. Next one. Jesus said that it would be really easy to follow him. True or false? And the last one, Jesus taught us to love everyone except our neighbours or those who don't like us. True or false? So have a little think about that. And you might want to pause if you want to talk through some of those answers with your parents or your carers. And why did we play that game? Well, I'll tell you why. The story when we hear today about Stephen, something happens to him and people said some things that he was doing that were lies. So people were telling lies about what Stephen was saying. And so I just thought it would be a good idea to say what was true, what was false, because that's what happened to Stephen. There's some videos, some links to some videos of telling the story on the resources. So if you don't want to listen to me, or you want to listen to me first and then watch it, ask your parents or carers to click on the video links, and there's a couple of videos there telling the story all about Stephen, which are quite good to watch as well. Okay, so because it's such a long passage today, I'm just going to tell you a version of it. I'm just going to read it in a different way, the story from today. Okay, so you ready? Listening? Okay, so Stephen was a Christian man in the city of Jerusalem who loved God and Jesus very much. He understood the power of the Holy Spirit in his life, and he was given the job of a deacon, which means a servant, in the church in Jerusalem, and he helped to make sure that the poor widows received their fair share of food. That's what we learnt about last week. He taught many people about Jesus and even performed many miracles in Jesus' name. So that's a bit about him. And Stephen wanted everyone to know the good news about Jesus. He knew that there were many Jews who followed God but did not believe in Jesus. So he went to a synagogue to preach. A synagogue is where Jewish people gathered, so a little bit like a church. The leaders of the synagogue became very angry. They did not believe what Stephen was saying about Jesus. In fact, they became so angry that they began telling lies about Stephen to make everyone else hate him. They said Stephen was saying bad things about the Jews and about God. They said he wanted to destroy their temple and stop them from worshipping God. Because they were so angry at Stephen, they took him to the Sanhedrin. The Sanhedrin was a group of Jewish leaders who would make decisions like in a courtroom. So they were quite in charge of some things. Even when the Jewish leaders of the synagogue were saying all these lies in the courtroom, Stephen continued to trust in God. He had so much faith in God that his face was very peaceful. The people said, "His face is like the face of an angel." When the high priest, who was the judge, asked Stephen if these things were true, Stephen had a very good answer. He answered by telling everyone the story of God and how God had sent his son Jesus to save his people. He talked about many people in the Bible, like Abraham, who was the very first Jew and the father of a great nation. He also talked about Abraham's descendants, so people who were from his family, Isaac, Jacob and Joseph. Moses, he spoke about Moses, who helped save God's people from the Egyptian slavery and then wrote down the 10 Commandments and the rest of the law. And he spoke about David and Solomon and how Solomon built the temple. And he spoke about Jesus, who was killed by the non-believing Jews. And he gave this great big speech. It was very long. And he talked about how that God had sent his son Jesus and how the Jews had rejected Jesus. And Stephen spoke the truth, but it made the people in the Sanhedrin really angry. They took him out of the city to throw stones at him until he died. And there, watching it all, was a man called Saul. And he agreed that killing Stephen was a good idea. And we'll hear more about Saul later. Well, so that's the story today of Stephen. And as you can see, it's not a very nice one. So poor Stephen, who was a really good man, and he did all the things that God and Jesus were asking him to. He helped people. He made sure things were fair. And he spoke the truth about God and Jesus. And these people did not like it so much that they killed him. They took him outside of the city and they killed him by throwing stones at him. What a horrible thing to do. And actually, there's one bit of that I missed out. Even when he was, I'll come back to it actually. I'll say it in a different way. Yes, remember the truth and lies at the start. We were talking about what was true and what was false. And the things that they were saying that Stephen said, he didn't say. They said that he said false things and he didn't. Well, in our true and false at the beginning, we had Jesus is the Son of God, true or false. That's true. Jesus said that everyone loved him, and so everyone who follows him will also be loved by everyone. Is that true or false? That's actually false. Jesus never said that because Jesus knew that not everyone loved him. And he knew that if you follow him, there's going to be people who don't like you for it. So he warned everyone right at the beginning. Jesus said it would be easy to follow him, true or false? False, he never said that. He said it's not going to be easy, but he always said that he would be with us. And Jesus taught us to love everyone except our enemies or those people who don't like us. Well, that's false too, because Jesus did teach us to love everyone, even our enemies. And one bit of the story there that I didn't add on that I need to write in was that when Stephen was being killed, when the people were throwing all of the stones at him, do you know what he said? He prayed out and he said, "Dear God, please forgive them." And so even then, at that moment, he did an incredible thing because he said, "Oh, these people, they don't know what they're doing the wrong thing. God, please forgive them for doing the wrong thing." He loved his enemies. So he was a great example to us of somebody who was really strong and stood up for Jesus and God all the time. Okay, so a few little questions, not many, just a few. And the first question I'm going to ask you is, what was the name of the man in our story today? What was his name? The name of the main man, the main character. Got it? Okay. How about what was the name of the man who thought killing Stephen was a good idea? So what was the name of the man who thought killing Stephen was a good idea? Can you remember his name? It was right at the end. And it begins with a S. See if you can remember. And then the last question, something for you guys to think about, is how can we stand up for God? What can we do that stands up for God? And I would say, think of all the times when you can tell the truth, or the things that you can do when you include other people who are being left out, and when you share, and when you're fair, and all of those sort of things. All of those things that we do, they stand up for God because they show other people the right way to live and the way that God wants us to live. So have a little think and give yourself a bit of a challenge this week. What are the things that you can do to stand up for God this week? Is there anything that you can do that will mean that you're showing other people how to live like God wants you to? Have a little think. And then on the resources, there's a couple of things that maybe your parents or carers have printed off for you to do. I don't know if you remember, but last week on the video at church on Sunday, I showed you this thing, and I showed you on the video, and I've nearly finished colouring mine in. And then after I've finished colouring it, I'm going to cut it out and I'm going to do the folding, and then I'll show you mine on Sunday. And hopefully some of you guys will feel confident enough to show me the ones that you've done as well. And this is going to be a funny big shape thing that tells the story all about Stephen, so we'll never forget it, which is really good. And then the last thing to do before we go is we're just going to say a little prayer, and then you can watch the song from Ian, which is probably always a bit of good fun, isn't it? Okay, so you ready to pray? Okay. Father in heaven, we thank you for hearing stories from the Bible about people who loved you so much that even when they were faced with nasty enemies saying wrong things about them, and even when they were about to be killed by these people, they had so much love for you that their love also poured out and was shown to those people who were killing him. So we thank you for Stephen, and we thank you for his example to us of what it is to be a follower of you and to always stand up for the truth and to say what is right, even when it's a scary situation we might be in. Thank you for all these boys and girls who listen and want to know more about you. And we pray that they would have a really good week and that they would have lots of fun and they would be healthy and they'd have great time with their families and their carers and whoever they live with. In Jesus' name, amen. Cool, right. See you next time.
Hello everyone. So we're looking at the story of Stephen today and his discussion, his debate with the people that were in charge of the temple in Jerusalem. And so Stephen, they were saying this is where God lives, in the temple, so you can't speak against the temple. And Stephen reminds them from their own history that God's never lived in a temple. He's far too big to live in a temple, isn't he? He's far too big to live in a church. He's far too big to live in an ocean. He's far too big to live in a skyscraper. In fact, God's so big, he created the universe. He's bigger than the universe because he created it. And yet the same God who created the universe, who's everywhere and all-powerful, is the same God who knew you when you were growing in your mum's tummy and knew before you were even born. And the same God who includes you in his plan, that he gets to know people like you and me. So this is a song that you might know. It's called Our God is a Great Big God. And we remind ourselves that God doesn't live in churches. So at the moment when we can't get into church and we can't meet together as a church, it's quite sad, but we can meet God wherever we are because God's a lot bigger than any building, and he doesn't live in any building, does he? So this is how the verse goes. It says, our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God, and he holds us in his hands. Your turn. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God, and he holds us in his hands. Okay, so that's the verse. And then, so that's the chorus, and here's the verse. It goes like this. He's higher than a skyscraper, and he's deeper than a submarine. He's wider than the universe and beyond my wildest dreams. And he's known me and he's loved me since before the world began. How wonderful to be a part of God's amazing plan. Should we try that bit together? He's higher than a skyscraper. He's higher than a skyscraper, and he's deeper than a submarine. He's wider than the universe, wider than the universe, and beyond my wildest dreams. And he's known me and he's loved me since before the world began. How wonderful to be a part of God's amazing plan. Oh God, our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God, and he holds us in his hands. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God, and he God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God, and He holds us in His hands, and He holds us, and He holds us in His hands. Yes, He holds us in His hand. One more time, and He holds us in His hand. Good day. So let's remind ourselves that God is bigger than anything else. He's everywhere. He lives everywhere. He doesn't live in a church building. So even though we can't be together, we can still meet with God wherever we are because He wants to meet with us. So that's good, isn't it? Okay, have a great week, and I'll see you soon.